Made you click. Wait, no, stay. Trust me, it's a good one. The opening scene features a funeral director, Elliot Deacon, who owns a funeral home. As a part of his daily routine, he prepares the corpses for their funeral while talking to them softly. Currently, he is seen preparing the body of an elderly piano teacher. We then cut to a middle school teacher, Anna Taylor, who is having intercourse with her boyfriend Paul. Lucky Paul. Despite the romantic setting, she doesn't seem to be enjoying it at all. Later, while showering, Paul inquires about the matter, but she insists that she's fine, though her expression says the opposite. Following this, Anna heads to work where she finds two big kids bullying her little student Jack. She reprimands them and immediately fends them off. After work, Anna is leaving school when the lights start flickering in the hallway. Scared, she frantically runs towards the exit, but finds the door locked. Amidst this intense moment, Jack appears and inexplicably opens the door without any problem. That evening, Anna attends the funeral of her former piano teacher at Elliot's place. As she approaches the dead body, she sees it moving its mouth.
Have you been practicing your scales?
Startling her for a moment, but upon having a second look, she finds that it's normal and realizes that it must have been her imagination. Later that night, Anna goes to meet Paul at a fancy restaurant for dinner. During this, he tells her about his promotion to the company's headquarters, so he has to move to Chicago. He then pulls out a ring from his pocket, intending to propose to her and take her along with him. But before he can do so, Anna starts arguing as she thinks that he's going to break up with her. Paul tries to explain the truth, but she storms off without listening. She drives off in a state of distress and amidst the heavy rain ends up getting into a traffic accident. In the next scene, we see Anna on an embalming table in the funeral home with a pale face and a wound on her forehead. Shortly after, Elliot walks in and starts preparing her. As he proceeds to undress her, Anna opens her eyes and asks where she is. Elliot, with a surprising calmness, answers that she's in the funeral home and that she's dead. He further reminds her that she collided with a truck loaded with metal pipes, causing her to die 8 hours ago. Confused and terrified, Anna still doesn't believe that she's dead, despite the funeral director's reassurances that she's merely in transition to the afterlife. Meanwhile, Paul wakes up in his house and attempts to contact his girlfriend numerous times. However, Anna's belongings are now with Elliot, who disregards the call and puts them in a storage closet alongside the belongings of other corpses. Unable to find her anywhere, Paul goes to her mother's house to inquire about her whereabouts. Much to his shock, Mom reveals about the tragic accident that led to her demise. In addition, she blames him for letting her drive in such bad weather. Back in the funeral home, Elliot stitches Anna's wounds, and she's perplexed that she isn't feeling pain. She inquires about this, but he ignores her and injects her with a fictional drug called hydronium bromide. Of course it has bro in the name, which she claims will relax her muscles. A while later, Anna's wheelchair-bound mother arrives at the funeral home to see her. In a crying voice, she talks to Anna's body, asking who is going to take care of her now. Before departing, she asks Elliot to turn her hair to its natural color, brown. Later on, Anna wakes up to find herself alone in the room. She musters up enough strength and sits in an upright position. She then walks up to the landline phone, but it isn't working. Just then, Paul shows up in the funeral home and requests Elliot let him see his girlfriend. Despite his desperation, the funeral director doesn't let him in because he has no legal ties to her. Hearing Paul's voice, Anna screams and pounds on the door, but her efforts go unnoticed. Paul then goes to the police station to meet his friend Tom in hopes that he can do something to let him inside the funeral home. However, another police officer informs him that Tom has gone for his patrol duty and will be back soon. Until that time, Paul enters the police impound and sits inside Anna's wrecked car. During this, he has a vision of his girlfriend, which is suddenly interrupted by Tom's hand. Paul implores him to do something to facilitate his entry to see Anna, but the latter is helpless in this regard. On the other hand, Anna wanders around the room and finds another corpse lying on the table. Not wanting to end up in such a fate, she grabs a pair of scissors and waits for Elliot. As soon as he walks in, she threatens to kill him, but the latter looks unfazed. He claims that she is incapable of harming him because she's already dead. Anna argues, questioning how she's able to talk to him if she's dead. At this point in time, Elliot Elliot reveals that she's able to talk to him because he has a gift.
I have a very particular set of skills.
The ability to communicate with dead people. It's like The Sixth Sense meets Jennifer Love Bubbitt. He further suggests that she let go of life because her funeral is in 3 days, after which she'll be put into a coffin and buried forever. In the next scene, Elliot is preparing an old woman's body for a funeral when he is joined by Jack, who seems to know about Anna's death. The boy asks about her teacher, to which Elliot replies that her funeral is on Friday and asks him to leave for now. The next morning, Paul hears the whispering voice of Anna and also experiences visions of her taking a shower. Now's not the time for that, Paul. However, he soon snaps out of his sleep, realizing that it was just a dream, a wet dream. Meanwhile, Elliot returns to Anna with a dress, which she will be wearing in her funeral. While he is distracted, she discreetly steals a bunch of keys from his pocket. Later, as Elliot sets out to pick up another dead body from the hospital, Anna hastily uses the stolen keys and tries unlocking the door. Elliot pulls over at a gas station to refill his tank, and this is when he realizes that he forgot his keys. So, he rushes back to the funeral home. In the interim, Anna manages to unlock the door and wanders around the house. She soon comes across a room with a telephone. She quickly dials Paul's number and starts praying for him to pick up. After a long ring, he does pick up the call, but soon hangs up, thinking that it's another hallucination. Just then, Elliot finds her and lets her see her corpse-like self in a mirror. This finally makes her believe that she actually has died. At the same time, Jack, who is standing right in front of the house, notices Anna, leaving him in shock. Additionally, another suspicious event transpires. Anna sighs in front of the mirror, causing her breath to fog it. However, Elliot cleverly wipes it off before she sees it. Now that she is convinced of her death, Anna stops resisting Elliot's preparation of her body and doesn't give any importance to what he administers her with. On the following day, Paul goes to Anna's school to collect her belongings. When he's about to leave, he is greeted by Jack, who tells him that he saw Anna in the funeral home wearing a red dress yesterday. Paul doesn't believe him and asserts that she is dead. But when the boy claims that he doesn't love her enough, Paul becomes so angry that he slaps his face, just slaps his little face in front of everyone. At the funeral home, a police officer arrives to see the dead body of his brother, who is kept in the same room as Anna. He then asks Elliot to leave him alone with his brother for a few minutes. As the funeral director leaves, the officer's true intentions become apparent as he approaches Anna's naked body. But just when he's on the verge of touching her, Elliot walks in and asks him to leave. Afterwards, Jack revisits the funeral home and confides in Elliot about what he saw the other day. In response, Elliot calmly replies that they both share the same ability to communicate with deceased individuals. In fact, everyone has it. It's called the power of gaslighting. On his way home, Paul suddenly recalls the red dress Anna wore in the morning before she died. This raises his suspicion that his girlfriend might still be alive. He rushes to the funeral home, demanding to see her, but Elliot refuses. This time, Paul ignores him and breaks in, calling out for Anna. He continues searching for her until the funeral director threatens to summon the police. Paul then goes to the police station and tells Tom that his girlfriend is still alive. He further speculates that Anna has been sedated with some high dose of drugs, slowing down her heartbeat to the lowest point. However, his friend doesn't believe in him, as he doesn't have any evidence to back up his claim. Later on, Elliot dresses Anna with her funeral attire, while the two have some deep conversation. She confesses that she was never happy with her life and wasn't able to love Paul wholeheartedly. However, now she regrets everything. The scene then cuts to the day of the funeral, where Elliot places Anna in the coffin. As he prepares to inject her with another dose of drugs, she asks to see herself just one last time. He then holds up a small mirror, and while she stares at herself, she notices her breath condensing on the glass. This makes her realize that Elliot has been lying to her the entire time and that she isn't dead yet. In a state of panic, she tries to fight, but Elliot administers the drugs, rendering her unconscious. Later, everyone gathers in the funeral hall to pay their final respects to Anna. A short while later, Paul also shows up and places the engagement ring on her finger. During this time, her lips and eyelids move a little, so Elliot nervously decides to close the coffin. After it is buried in a graveyard, the devastated Paul starts drinking heavily. He is then approached by the funeral director, whom Paul blames for burying Anna alive. In response, Elliot claims that maybe he is right and tells him to go check for himself. Infuriated, Paul reacts aggressively, but before he can attack, Elliot tells him that he does not have much time left. Sensing the urgency of the situation, Paul drives towards the graveyard at full speed. Meanwhile, Anna wakes up inside the coffin and frantically screams for help as she slowly runs out of oxygen. Despite being under the influence of alcohol, Paul dodges several vehicles on the highway. He then arrives at the graveyard and quickly digs up Anna's coffin, taking her out. He somehow manages to revive her, after which she confesses her love for him. At the same time, Paul hears some odd sounds, and Anna explains it to be the sound of Elliot's scissors cutting his clothes. The next second, Paul finds himself in the funeral home, with Elliot standing over him, preparing his body as he did Anna's. Elliot reveals to him that he never made it to the cemetery due to a car accident, which killed him. Paul protests that he is alive until Elliot inserts an embalming trocar deep into his torso. This script may have just been an excuse for a bunch of tasteless nudity, but that was actually a pretty good twist. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.